Most founders chase revenue, but few build real wealth. In this episode, we're breaking down the differences between making money and keeping it. My guest, Dr. David Mandell, who's also a JD, shares what every healthcare leader must know to protect their assets, their energy, and their freedom. Stay tuned. Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability. Before we dive into today's expert conversation, I want to pause for a minute and talk directly to the innovators in the room, especially if you're preparing for a raise or aim to land a pivotal partnership this year. Your pitch isn't just a story, it's a strategy. And if you're still guessing what investors or decision makers want to hear, you're already behind. That's exactly why we built Pitch to Yes. We don't just critique your pitch, we co-create it with you. You will walk away with a persuasion scorecard and a written pitch that turns attention into action. Apply at pitchtoyes.com. Now let's dive into today's conversation. Hello, everyone. This is Sabrina, your host. Today, we have Dr. David Mandell with us. He is a JD MBA, is attorney in the law office of David B. Mandell PC and the principal of wealth management firm of OJM Group. We're so excited for him to be here with us because he has been an author of amazing 15 plus books, and he is also a fellow podcaster, and he is a wealth strategist for today's physician, a multimedia playbook, and is the host of the Wealth Planning for the Modern Physician podcast. In today's world, wealth can be defined in different ways, whether you believe wealth is defined by freedom, activity, people, money, and in also just the environment you're in. And we sometimes also don't really quite understand how do we define wealth? How do we not just earning, contribute to society, creating impact, but also be able to live, be able to feel that every hard work that we put out is also supporting us. And then for me, that really is wealth. And wealth is a combination of things, of freedom, of control, of support. And wealth also for me means we can use the financial support or our own expertise for the initiative, the nonprofit, the things that we truly wanted to give in the society. So David, thank you so much for joining us. I wonder, right? I always is so curious on anybody can do anything in the world. Why did you pick this field?
Yeah, well, Sabrina, first, thanks you for having me. I really appreciate being here. And we'll get you on my podcast as well. We're going to make that happen. So, I ended up, it wasn't like when I was growing up, I knew that I was going to do this. I probably would rather have played in the NBA, but I realized, even though I was a pretty good basketball player, that just wasn't in the cards for me, probably by high school, right? So I went to law school. I knew I liked using that part of my brain, and I always had a very logical and sort of approach to things. While I was in law school, I knew I became more interested in business. And this is at UCLA. So I actually applied to the business school and finished with a JD MBA. That program has gotten very popular, but 30 years ago, there weren't that many people doing it. I knew I wanted to help people. I started to learn more about wealth management, and I started my career as a lawyer. So I didn't start the wealth management firm that I'm a principal on now till about 18 years ago. And I've been an attorney for 30 years. So the first 12 years of my career were working as an attorney, helping physicians with in medical practices and some entrepreneurs with estate planning, with tax, with corporate structure, et cetera. And in 1998, I wrote a book called The Doctor's Asset Protection Guide, it was all about helping physicians protect themselves from potential liability. And that sort of opened a lot of doors as an author. And I started writing articles and speaking all around the country, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the reasons I started working with physicians, the main reason was that my grandfather, my father, and my brother were all doctors. So I was the only kind of person in the family not to go into medicine. So I figured if I wasn't going to be a physician, I would help physicians. And so kind of started my niche and wrote that first book in that niche. And that kind of started my whole career down that path.
Yeah, a lot of time we know the clinicians, the scientific brain people always have a different way of looking at life. And we're driven by data, driven by what has already exists so we can prove the concept and what's next. And then there's a bunch of us that have flipped into that entrepreneurial mindset of, I see a problem, let's fill it. Because whether it's things are taking too long for all of our staff or ourselves to do it, then we need a better workflow, better integration, all these technology coming out, government support of interoperability, versus we see, like you're saying, our family member has taken apart, perhaps their caregivers, perhaps they got ill, right? Perhaps ourselves have gone through some type of changes, and then we wanted to be the expert, that support to create that because we're in it with them, right? And so that become another projection career path. However, that wealth building most of the time is not building wealth. They're about building legacy, right? What could be passing down to the entire community and their family. And that become even more challenging when people go into those directions because they're still most likely working in their own primary places, whether it's hospital system, ACOs, or perhaps even their own private practice. And then they're also opening up this additional solution things. So it become very complicated. And sometimes because we're never trained on thinking business as this systematic way of actually you need to research who you're talking to, what their pain point of, not just you see the solution, hey, everybody come to me, like a traditional medicine, right? We open up a practice, we're part of a large system. And because of that, people just gonna book on our schedule, right? So it's definitely has a lot of different nuances. What have you been seeing some challenges with people who are exploring those fields of thinking bigger than their traditional day-to-day of clinical practice, and then also be able to manage their wealth, getting funding for their next big thing that they want to create impact for?
We often think of wealth as money, but for founders, especially those entrepreneurs and leaders in organizations, it's so much more than that. Wealth is freedom. It's having control over how we spend our time, who we work with, and the causes we choose to champion. It's the confidence that the hard work we pour into the world also supports us back. Not just financially, but through purpose, people, and peace of mind. That's what I shared as I opened today's episode with Dr. David Mandel, an attorney and wealth strategist who spent decades helping physicians and founders protect what they built. His path wasn't linear. From law to MBA to helping healthcare innovators safeguard their assets. But his mission is clear. Wealth protection isn't about fear. It is about freedom to grow boldly. So as we dove into the rest of the conversation, I wanted to know how founders, especially clinical founders, move from simply earning income to building intellectual wealth. Because many of us are still balancing care delivery, business building, and legacy creation all at once. And without the right structure, that effort can quickly turn into exhaustion.
Real quick, if you're a healthcare founder building in women's health, mental health, digital health, age tech, biotech, diagnostics, or longevity, we built Capital Engine for you. We don't just get you in the room, we make sure you're ready to own it. Our team vets the right investors and potential C-suite operators to help you validate products, run pilot trials, or scale your next revenue partner. Some founders get so much investor interest, they've asked us to slow it down. And whether it takes 2 months or 2 years, we stay with you until your raise is closed with expert advisors who've built and exited healthcare companies themselves. Apply now at Capital Engine VC and let's get to work. All right, let's get back to the second half of our show.
Well, Sabrina, it was like you were saying in the beginning before, as you were introducing me, that wealth can be defined in a lot of ways. And I look at, just look at my own family, for example. My father, who passed away last year, was a radiologist. He was involved in a bunch of tech companies, telemedicine, et cetera. And he worked up until the last, 3 to 6 months of his life in his 80s, still as, reading films and as a physician. And that's something he wanted to do all the way until his health could not support it anymore. He practiced for over 50 years, which not many physicians are able to do. I look at my brother, who's a cardiologist, and, he's asking me more often, when can I shift to part-time? When can my financial situation allow me to do some other things other than practice medicine? And, we have over 1,000 physician clients we work with on the wealth management side and a lot more even on my law firm side. And every single person is different, and they have their own goals of where they want their life to go. But to your point, all the areas of wealth management. I mean, my firm is like a multi-specialty firm. My background's a lawyer, as I mentioned. My partner, Carol's a CPA. We have a bunch of MBAs. We have CFP, certified financial planners. We have insurance people. We have money managers, et cetera. Because your financial life and trying to get you whatever goal you're trying to get to is not just going to be investing. It's going to be financial modeling and how we're doing and saving. And it could be college education funding and modeling out that second home, et cetera. There's a huge tax element, especially if you have any kind of side hustle or your own practice or your own business, because there's a lot of choices there and those things are always changing. There's benefit plans like 401ks or non-qualified plans and cash balance plans, et cetera. There's all the different insurances that are important. I mean, on our podcast, mine, that we're going to get you on the beginning of this season, season 5, I interviewed an orthopedic surgeon who became disabled in a skiing or snowboarding accident on his 57th birthday. And his career changed like that. He said as soon as he hit the ground, he knew he wasn't performing surgery anymore. Totally ripped up his shoulder on his primary arm that he performed surgery with. So disability insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance for parents or for yourself. Wealth planning is very complicated. It's like medicine, I tell folks all the time. There's different specialties and you can't know it all. I can't know all these areas myself. That's why I have 7 different partners. And there's no way someone running a business, running a biotech firm, running a practice, taking care of their family is going to know all that. So, one of the reasons we have books like this, right? We help clients, but I'll just, do the show and tell. And you can get this book. People buy it all the time for free. By being a viewer or listener of Sabrina's podcast. And she'll have in the show notes how to do that. And I hope you take advantage of it because first you want to be educated in these areas. Certainly some people try to do it all themselves, but most say, listen, I want to know a couple of these things. I want to understand what's going on. I want to hire the right type of advisor. But ultimately, I want to delegate this to somebody who knows what they're doing. That's where our firm comes in, but we're always been educating people in the books and the articles and podcasts like this. That's why we do it.
Exactly. And just like we're always saying, it's about your who, right? The right people that you work with that can accelerate whatever you wanted to do, not trying to do it all by yourself. Because in a lot of work with us in peak performance, it's all about finding that desire zone, things that you're really good at and you actually also passionate at. Instead of most people will sway into things they find interesting. But then we're like, that's actually a distraction zone. You don't have the talent and the expertise, or they get stuck on doing things that are almost like demoralizing because things just feel burdened, right? Well, if you can do it in half hour, you don't have to train someone else, pay someone else to do it, but then it kills your momentum. And that is also not healthy. So for us, when we work with client, one of my clients actually recently, it's exactly what you're saying in the space of he needed to see multiple things, right? His kids are going to college. He still have younger kids in high school. And we're building out this precision medicine, new way of taking care of women's health. And then on top of that, he have to think about would I be willing to borrow? Do I need to raise capital? And what are all that? And then what I end up doing is I just give him the whole financial projection plan and then say, now hand this, at least we know all the basic costs and what would it be for the next few months before we can go positive. Hand it to your CPA. So then you have all the right dots. Then you can have a tangible conversation about whether raising capital or borrowing or taking small business loan makes sense, right? And then the wealth management people can help see this different direction. However, if he just sitting here in the head of I couldn't because I have too many financial burden, then this big mission of his that to help this subset of women will never happen, right? Then things just like, oh, I really want this, we really want to contribute, but I really couldn't because I have family obligation, right? And then it becomes who you are as an individual and your goal and your dream almost being held back by the things that can be a burden, but actually doesn't have to be if you have the right mindset to find the right people to help you to get there.
Yeah. And there's so many practicalities underneath what you're saying, right? I mean, like if you're going to be taking loans or there's a financial piece, there's the asset protection element of it, meaning, we always tell clients, aim for the best, plan for the worst. That's my area of specialty in our multi-specialty firm, which is I've been helping entrepreneurs, business owners, physicians protect their downside because there can be personal liability. There can be things that go wrong. And working with myself or another attorney who understands asset protection, you can make sure that you're in a good place so that you can aim for the best. I'm an entrepreneur. Right. I had my law practice. I was the big firm in Manhattan, created my own firm, created this wealth management firm. I'm involved with a couple of startups, et cetera. So I'm not someone who shies away from that risk, but I'm also going into it wisely. I understand how my personal assets, my home, my investments, my other stocks, et cetera, are protected in case there is life. And so it's just being smart. Again, to your point, surrounding yourself with the right team. And that's crucial. And that will give you the confidence to go out and do some of these ventures. And we have a lot of docs, doing side hustles, whether that's locums or getting involved with industry or doing some kind of startup or medical legal review or expert witness. There's a lot of ways that docs can leverage what they're doing outside the just traditional clinical practice for income streams. And that gets into, okay, if you're going to do that and make money, well, let's try to reduce the taxes. Let's try to leverage it for your future because who wants to spend an hour working and get 50% on that and have 50% go to the government? That's frustrating. I'm always thinking, our firm's always thinking, how can we maximize that value and protect and build for the client? And they're coming up with their own, entrepreneurial ideas or just, traditional clinical practice and just trying to get to where they and their family want to.
Yeah, I think what's crucial is we are able to do calculated risk, right? Take calculated risk. And then at the same time, your expertise is about talking to a wealth management firm like yours to understand how to be protected. At the same time, be able to get what you want in parallel, right? Or whether it's from a tax breaks perspective or any other contingency. Because as we know, it's not about building the confidence then do is actually you have to take actions and then figure out the steps. And while in those steps, then we can be able to turn up the dial or down the dial, see what fits. And I think a lot of time that people tend to, especially physicians, we believe in we can solve everything, which is a really amazing mindset. But if we are not dialing in enough, you can jump in too fast. Then there's no net to catch you. Or then you're just like barely testing the water and nothing happens, right? So we need to find out the happy medium of what is the wealth and safety of that financial intelligence means. As we're wrapping up, what would be the number one advice you would give to people in that space of they're building their own company as well as they wanted to have safety?
Yeah, I think, the number one thing is get educated. Again, self-serving. I'll show the book again. You can get it for free, and they'll put that in the show notes. Spend a little bit of time. I mean, there's a great book. You've probably talked about it before on your podcast. I have no relation to it, called The E-Myth, which is the entrepreneur myth, which is you might be really good at whatever it is, making widgets, telemedicine, et cetera, but that doesn't mean you know how to do a business, operations, marketing, all of that other stuff. And I would say the same thing really relates to wealth, meaning that take a little bit of time. If you're the CEO of your career, you're the CEO of a new business, you're the CEO of the practice, whatever it is, everybody's the CEO of their own career. Take a little bit of time and think about these planning issues. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert in it. You probably need to know enough to try to hire the right team around you, whether that's one firm like ours, which is like a one-stop shop, or, this attorney and that CPA and this wealth manager and this insurance person. But take a little bit of time to do that because it really does make an impact on your financial life, meaning how much you're going to have for retirement, whether you lose assets from liability or don't, how much you pay in taxes. It really does make a difference. And over time, that makes a difference in your life, meaning when you can retire, when you can jump out and do something entrepreneurial, et cetera, is going to be driven by a lot of financial considerations. And taking some time to plan around it and get educated is important.
Exactly. So that really is the compound effect. So I follow Darren Hardy a lot, someone who's been business mentorship. Really, it's about that compound interest, right? We can learn things every day in small doses, and that's compounded into years. We can also compound other people's expertise their years of experience and understanding. Sometimes best practice is really just best practice. We need to really refine into that individual, your own company, who you are, what you value, and then creating this system that truly works for you and not just doing the comparison work. So we appreciate everything that you have shared, David. What is the best way for people to either connect with you, or is the best way for the big value give is for people to grab your book?
Yeah. So, you'll put in the show notes a link. We'll make sure you have that for people so they can link right through with your special code so they can get it for free. On the book, our website is OJM as in Mary, so OJMgroup.com. You can contact me there. We always have a free consult. So if someone says, hey, I'd like to talk to you, learn more about what you do, and maybe there's a fit, maybe there isn't. I do, and my partners do those kind of calls every day. We never charge for it. So let's see if there is a fit. On the website, we have a lot of free material. We have our own podcast, which we're going to get you on. We have a newsletter that goes out to about 10,000 people every month. Again, that's free. So again, we're all about education and letting people understand some of the things we do and things they should be doing better. And if there's a fit for us, great. So OJMgroup.com is our website. Feel free to reach out.
Perfect. We can't wait to hear how you guys are able to learn from David, read his book, and then just having a conversation. At the end of the day, that is the first step to learning and compounding into your own knowledge. And I'm the type of person I would never say no to learning because there's always someone else out there that can teach me something. Appreciate all of you guys. If you have a comment from everything you learned from today, make sure to leave it in wherever you're listening to this episode or watching it, and tag us, both David and myself. We can't wait to respond and hear all of your insight. Until next time.
What I love about today's conversation is that Dr. Mandel pulled back the curtain on what really financial strategy looked like for the innovators. He shares stories from his own family, his father, a physician who kept practicing into his 80s, and his brother now asking, when can I finally shift to part-time? These aren't just personal anecdotes. They are a mirror for so many healthcare leaders balancing purpose with pressure. What David made clear is that financial planning isn't one size fits all. It's more like running a multi-specialty practice. You need your team of specialties, a CPA, an attorney, a financial planner, a risk strategist, and a model that fits your goal. Because as he said, you cannot know it all. Not when you are running a business, caring for your family, and trying to change healthcare at the same time. That's exactly why I emphasize the power of your who. The right people accelerate your mission. They turn what feels like an impossible leap into a calculated, supported move. When founders stay stuck doing everything themselves, they stall momentum and sabotage growth. Now, I want to hear from you. Before we go on to the rest of the episode, tell us in the comment below, or wherever you're watching and hearing this. Perhaps you want to post on LinkedIn. Tag me, Sabrina, Runbeck, like running backwards, except with the E. What's the one smart financial move you made this year that gave you more freedom as a founder? Today, David and I unpacked most founders overlook: financial intelligence. We discuss how healthcare leaders can protect their wealth, reduce risk, and structure their company to scale sustainably. I believe financial literacy isn't about greed, it's about freedom. And David agrees that the founders who think the stores are the ones investors trust the most. And David agrees the founder who think like stores are the ones investors trust most. We explored the 3 layers of financial intelligence: protection, strategy, and leverage, and share real stories of founders who turn financial clarity into lasting impact. If you're building revenue, but not resilience, this episode really is what putting everything together. This episode helped you to do both. Here are the 6 key points to reflect on. Number 1, wealth isn't just money, it's the power of choice. Founders often equal success with revenue growth, but true wealth is about freedom. Freedom to choose how you spend your time, who you work with, and which causes you support. Financial intelligence gives founders the leverage to build both legacy and liquidity. Number 2, financial protection is the foundation of risk-taking. Calculated risk fuels innovation, but unprotected assets make even smart risks dangerous. Structuring your company and personal finances with the right legal and tax safeguard transfers risk into opportunity. Number 3, you cannot outsource awareness, only execution. Delegation is vital, but blind trust is not. Founders should understand the why behind their wealth plan, even if they don't manage the how. A financially literate founder can make sharper, faster, and more confident decisions during founding, acquisition, or scale-up phases. Number 4, the right advisory team is your competitive moat. Just as physicians relying on specialists, founder needs a cross-disciplinary team. Attorney, CPA, financial planner, and strategist working in alignment. A founder's best investment isn't always a new tool. It's the wisdom and protection of the right minds around them. That's why Postpoint Pass created the integrated 12C advisory board that covers all critical domains to help you to grow sustainably. Number 5, compound expertise the same way you compound interest. Financial growth mirrors business growth. It multiplies when you layer expertise. Each conversation, mentor, or insight adds a percentage to your quote-unquote founder IQ. Learning from others' decades of experience saves founder from paying tuition to the school of hard knocks. Number 6, protect your downside before chasing your upside. Every founder dreams of exponential growth, but before you expand, ask, if this fails tomorrow, what happens to your home, saving, or legacy? Smart founders plan for the worst while aiming for the best. And that's what gives them the courage to build boldly. Now tell us, if your wealth was fully protected today, what bold move would you finally take? Thank you for tuning in to Provider's Edge podcast. We hope you enjoy our latest episode and found the insights and tips helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show and learn what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is essential to help us improve the show and provide you with the content you need to take your healthcare business to the next level. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.